To kick things off, I want to say I've listened to your comments. Well, I want to say listen. I've read your comments. I've got to apologise. It was the last video I did. It's been the last couple actually, where the connection has not been very good. I'm really hoping this is going to be a lot better today. But I didn't realise the issues I was facing in that video. Even during the edit, I didn't really notice it was that bad. But looking back at it when it was on the actual channel itself, it was pretty bad. So what I've actually done on the back of that is upgrade my broadband. That's now been kicking up. That should be kicking in the next few days. So it's literally the best broadband you can get with BT. So I'm kind of hoping that is it. And any broadband issues will be resolved. But who knows? I'm paying enough for it. So bloody hope so. Yes, apologies for that. Back to football. I mean, thank God this international break is coming towards an end. I hate them. I don't know if I've mentioned it. Maybe I have. Maybe once or twice. But yeah, I'm not a fan. I really do not like these international breaks. I find them painful. But I will probably lose to Spurs now, and I'll be crying out for another one. But no, honestly, I'm really looking forward to the return of domestic football this weekend. It'll be great. I'm sure you are too. It's horrible, isn't it, not having West Ham to watch, especially when you just won a game. Do you know what I mean? Beating Ipswich like we did just gives you that taste of it. Do you know what I mean? You want to keep playing. So I really hope we can keep some momentum going from that. So this is a bit of a general video, actually, of what's going on at the moment. There's a few stories doing the rounds at the moment. First of all, I want to talk about the striker situation. That this is where we've got a couple of players being linked with West Ham. And I'm going to just go straight into it. Alexander Sorloth has been linked to us again. We were linked with him in the summer. Quite a fair bit, actually. I think he was considered like sort of full fifth choice striker for us. But he was a striker that nonetheless that we were really interested in. He had a pretty decent season. He ended up making the move, I think, to Atletico Madrid in the summer. So he hasn't been there very long. And they already want to get rid of him. They already want to ship him off, apparently. I mean, if that's true, I'm not sure. I mean, he's not started great. If you look at how he's getting on, not brilliantly. But the fact is, if they want to get rid of him already, it doesn't sound great, does it? I mean, I think they spent something like £29 million on him. So, yeah, a bit of an odd one, that. And it appears from what the reports are suggesting that West Ham have been offered the player once again in January. And West Ham are seriously looking at him again. And what this is sort of led to now is that the press are now suggesting that the West Ham are looking to replace Nicholas Füllkrug already. It's not working out. They're looking to bring another striker. I don't believe actually that's the case. My gut feeling would suggest that West Ham want to replace Danny Ings. Danny Ings is the one that is clearly surplus to requirements at West Ham now. I mean, he can't even get a look in when we've got an injury to Füllkrug. All right, I know you've got Antonio there, but Ings isn't getting a sniff at the moment. So I would suggest that the West Ham, that's what West Ham will be looking to do. Is if I think the club will try their best to get rid of Danny Ings one way or another in January if they can, and whether that be on a free, just like we tried to do over the summer, just for someone to take his wages on. He did have an offer from Southampton, I believe, over the summer to try and take him, and it just didn't materialise. I kind of get it for the guy. Do you know what I mean? I do feel for Danny Ings in a way. It's not his fault, but he's coming to the club. He's on a very good deal. He's no big rush. And at the end of the day, he's coming towards the end of his career. He's probably thinking, look, do I really want to take a step down and earn less wage to be playing? I'm not sure. And also bearing in mind, we had Lopetegui coming in. It's a fresh management team for him to work with. He might be feeling, well, look, I've got an opportunity here to try and get back involved, etc. But it hasn't worked out. I just, as I say, if he can't even get in the side when Füllkrug's been injured, I just feel like it's time we try desperately to move on. I think that's what this is to do with, and why West Ham are being linked with strikers. So Sorloth is the one that we're being heavily linked with for a move. Apparently, this January, just quickly reading here, £29 million they paid for him at Atletico Madrid, and he's just not. He's been very underwhelming apparently so far for Diego Simeone's side. I'm not excited by it at the moment. It's hard to get excited by a player that's not doing very well. He's done the rounds as well, old Sorloth. You know what I mean? He has been at a fair few clubs. He seems to struggle to settle and stay and do well at clubs. So I'm not sold on this at all. I'm not. Whether West Ham are going to be exploring the January transfer window that much, I'm not too sure at this stage. It's very difficult. It feels a long way off, doesn't it? Still January. It's hard to say. I think if West Ham, as I say, if West Ham can offload Danny Ings, then yes, I think we'll explore the striker market. And like the same with other players, if certain players aren't fitting in, they can get rid of, then they'll look to replace. But I think at this stage, it's very. I mean, I'm finding that a bit underwhelming going for a striker that's just moved to a club for a big fee and already they want to get rid of him. It doesn't scream, a wonderful move, does it? It's something to be too excited about. Another one we've been linked with, which I find a really strange one, is Hozek, Adam Hozek, who we were interested in him before. He's at Hoffenheim now. He's a player that to be honest with you, I was very keen on. I've done very, very well. He's okay. He was at Leverkusen. He'd been there for a couple of years. Sparta Prague, he was very good at. I'm just looking at his stats here. That he scored 34 goals and just over 100 games for Sparta Prague between 2018 and 22. He then moved to Leverkusen. Didn't do too well. Did all right for a couple of years. 7 goals in that time, not great. And then at Hoffenheim, he started pretty well. Now, there's rumours that West Ham are going to look to make a move in January. I just can't see how we're going to be able to get a player that started pretty well for his new side and consider it as sort of a big move as well for him, Hozek. I've struggled to see that West Ham would be able to then pull off a deal to get him over in January. Not to say it's impossible, but it's just, I would suggest at this stage, unlikely. But these are the current 2 players that we're being heavily linked with at the moment in terms of striker reinforcements this January. I suspect it's going to be an interesting time, January, because the pressure's on at the club. When you consider the money that's been spent so far, the change in what we've had the backroom team with Lopetegui coming in, the club are going to want to do well. And I think if there's a chance that West Ham can grab something in terms of European football, I imagine the club will try and push for that and do what they can. Considering the fact now you've got the likes of Tim Steidten heavily involved now and driving that recruitment push at the club, and the investors, you've got Daniel Kretinsky, things like this. West Ham want to be back in Europe, so it will be an interesting time. I just struggle to believe these 2 links at the moment. I find them a little bit loose and possibly a little bit lazy in terms of who we're being linked with, because these are players we've been linked with before. But they're still, they are certainly doing the rounds. Another story that's really I'm finding a bit bizarre. It seems to be cropping up over the place is Thomas Frank, obviously the manager at Brentford. I really admire Frank. I think he's done a fantastic job with Brentford. They're fantastic football club, really, for where they've come from, where they are now is astonishing. And I've got nothing but good things to say about Thomas Frank, to be honest. I mean, he's quite pragmatic. He's not the most exciting. He doesn't play the most expansive football. It's very much get the job done kind of thing. I'm not sure that would really suit a lot of people, but I can understand it. But to suggest that he's been linked with West Ham at this stage just doesn't feel right to me. Do you know what I mean? It's West Ham are a loyal club in regards to managers. We've always seen that with our ownership. They don't really like to sack them. They try their best to stick with them as long as they can. We're not a quick fire, knee-jerk sacking club. We stuck with David Moyes for quite a fair bit of time. If you look at all the time he's actually been at the club, 5-6 years in total of his time at the club, it's a long time. It's a long time for a manager to be at one football club. And even when we're sort of facing relegation and it's becoming like a stark reality, the club will do what they can to stand by the manager. So I really do struggle to believe that there is any kind of suggestion that the West Ham hierarchy are already considering and other managers to replace Lopetegui. I'm really struggling with that. Again, I just find this all a little bit loose in terms of reporting. Like it's a story. We've got to run with it. But, this is what I'm here to talk about. I want to talk about what's in the press. I say all of these 3 things I'm finding a little bit tough at the moment. We've got an update later from ex-WHU employee on the West Ham Way podcast, and we'll do a video on the back of that. There'll probably be a few bits we can talk about, to be honest, regarding what he's going to come up with in terms of news, etc. But I think the main focus for the football club at this moment in time, and rightly so, is Tottenham. Of course, on Saturday, big game. They're off the back of throwing away a 2-0 lead against Brighton. West Ham off the back of a really strong home performance and victory over Ipswich Town. It's sort of, I don't know, it's got the ingredient, you know what I mean? The ingredients that West Ham could really go there and do something. I bloody hope so, really, because it feels like that could be the game that gets the season go in the direction in that we want it to go. Do you know what I mean? We've had a stuttering start. It's been pretty slow, a bit unconvincing. We've obviously got that victory over Ipswich. It's lifted the mood, but you just feel like we just need that kind of big win, that statement results, go to Tottenham, get 3 points, and just get that feeling that we're going to get our campaign up and running and start getting in the pack for chasing for Europe. I really, really hope that is the case. So that'll be the focus at the moment. But yeah, so as I say, just to recap them, we've got a couple of strikers that we're linked with at the moment, both of whom I'm not too sure of. We've got Adam Hozek, who, as I say, just signed for Hoffenheim. So I do not see that being something that we'll be able to pull off, even if we really wanted to. Alexander Solov, I mean, that's a possibility. If he's not doing well at Atletico Madrid, West Ham are very keen. It's just a bit of an underwhelming one at the moment. I just wonder whether that story's more there because we've been linked previously, and if he's not doing so well, it's getting 2 and 2 and getting 5 out of it. I'm not sure. That's where I'm sort of sitting with that one. And the Thomas Frank one, I'm just completely dismissing at this stage. I don't think there's any sort of suggestion that West Ham will be looking to replace Lopetegui. But look, who knows? I say X has got an update later. Let's see what he comes up with. Come on your minds.